the missing piece. They say you never forget your first love. I used to think that was just something people said in movies, something poetic but not true. Not real life. I was wrong. I was 17 when I met James. He was a year older, already, talking about the future like it was something he could hold in his hands, while I was still figuring out who I even was. We started dating that fall, and almost overnight he became the centre of my world. We were together every single day at school. I'd catch him watching me from across the cafeteria, and he'd catch me doing the same. On weekends, we'd go on these simple little dates, nothing fancy, just time together. But it felt like everything. I loved him. Not in the way teenagers think they love someone. I mean, I really loved him, and he loved me back just as fiercely. But my parents didn't approve. They never told me why. There was no explanation, no conversation, just a decision handed down like a verdict. I was not allowed to see him anymore. I didn't understand it then, and honestly, I still don't fully understand it now. All I know is that something good was being taken from me, and I had no say in it. James graduated the year before me, and then he left, off to college, off to build the life he'd always talked about. I stayed behind, finishing my last year of school alone, carrying a version of him around in my chest that I couldn't tell anyone about. At first we tried to keep in touch, but college pulled him into a completely different life, and I was still stuck in the one my parents controlled. Eventually the calls stopped. I heard through people who knew people that he'd met someone at school. Then that he'd married her. Just like that, the door I'd been quietly holding open for him closed. When I finally graduated, I didn't get to follow him, and now there was no him to follow anyway. College wasn't an option either. There wasn't money for that, and there wasn't anyone offering to help me find a way. So I did what I had to do. I got a job at a factory, and every week, without fail, my parents took my paycheck, all of it. I worked full days on a factory line, and never once saw what I earned. I felt trapped, not in some dramatic, obvious way, just in that quiet, suffocating way where you look around at your own life and realise you don't actually control any of it. Around that time, I met William. He was steady and kind, and he offered me something I hadn't had in years. A way out. I needed a way out, and the only one I could see was marriage. So William and I got married. I want to be clear, it wasn't some cold, calculated escape. I cared about him, and I meant every word I said that day. But if I'm being honest with myself, looking back, part of the reason it happened when it did was because I needed to belong to myself again, even if that meant belonging to someone else first. For the next 9 years, my life was fine. That's the word I'd use. Fine, comfortable, stable. William was a good husband, and we built a life together the way you're supposed to. But there was this feeling I could never quite shake, like something was missing, like I was living a life that fit almost perfectly except for one small piece that never quite clicked into place. I couldn't explain it. I didn't even understand it myself. How can you feel like something's missing when you have a good life, a good marriage, a roof over your head? But I did. After 9 years, William and I divorced. It wasn't ugly, it wasn't dramatic. It was just the quiet realization that whatever we had wasn't enough to keep going. Not because we hated each other. We just weren't whole together, not in the way we needed to be. For the first time in my entire adult life, I was on my own. No parents controlling. My paycheck, no marriage defining my days, just me. And honestly, life got better. I made my own choices. I spent my own money. I came home when I wanted to and answered to no one. I told myself I was happy. But that same feeling followed me. That quiet ache. That sense that somewhere out there was still a piece of my life unaccounted for. Then one day, on an ordinary lunch break, on an ordinary afternoon, everything changed. A man walked up to me and said, "You look familiar." I get that a lot. People think they recognise me from somewhere, and it's usually nothing. So I looked up, ready to give the polite, forgettable smile you give a stranger. And then I actually looked at him. It was James. 17 years. 17 years since we'd first found each other, and somehow, in this massive world full of strangers, we'd ended up on the same street, on the same day, at the same time. We sat down and talked, and it was like no time had passed at all. The same laugh, the same way he tilted his head when he was really listening. It was like we'd picked up a conversation we'd started as teenagers and simply never finished. He told me about the woman he'd married in college and that it hadn't lasted. He was divorced too, just like me. 2 different marriages, 2 different people, and somehow we'd both ended up back at square one. Then he said something that stopped me cold. He said he always felt like something was missing. I didn't need him to explain. I already knew exactly what he meant, because I'd felt it too, every single day since the day my parents pulled us apart. 2 months later, we got married again. Some people thought it was too fast, but we didn't want to waste any more time. We'd already lost 17 years we couldn't get back. We weren't about to lose one more day. People say you never forget your first love. I used to think that was just something people said. But I got lucky. I didn't have to forget him. Life pulled us apart for a while, but it never let go completely. And in the end, we found our way back to each other, back to the missing pieces we didn't even know we'd spent our whole lives looking for.